larger pyramid?
No, this is the pyramid prescribed. The size is also prescribed. So this is the size. It is done exactly according to those measurements. The steps. Somehow this particular figuration has that effect of manipulation of energy. Now lots of ash is required. In Eastern European countries, they have asked me whether we can do it in a big way in a country like India where there is not so much of radioactivity, and then the cow dung is also not radioactive, and then the ash, you can do it yourself here, but you cannot increase the size of it. It is exactly this size. Then secondly, human medium is necessary. Otherwise, in different wards of a city, you can just connect it to some computer and automatically mantras could be done, sunrise, sunset timings at that time, the rice will fall, all that will be done. But a human agency, because man himself is a transducer, and by his own vibration, singing, certain things, energy, like sunrise, sunset, human energy. Somebody who cannot speak, who is dumb, then that's an exception. You cannot do this process. But there is a part of that, because human body is a very, very special instrument in creation. I mean, the scientists hardly know some things about it. It's such a wonderful instrument. Everyone is carrying a certain, of course, something around him, something very special. When you are born, thou art made in the image of thy Father. This is the meaning of all this. This is meant for human beings and not others. So all that manipulation of energy comes about by this certain process. So it helps. Yes.
Does each individual to benefit have to, in the household, be there, or like in my case, I'm a morning person, and she's not. Would she benefit if I did it?
Well, one thing is, if you do it in the house, it will have effect on the whole house.
Good.
But of course, if the person is present at that time, that is going to add. I will tell you the reason why.
Do I have to
According to ancient science, no, not you have to, because the effect will be impregnated on the wall. Of course, I take it that you are doing it at the correct time.
Yeah.
Of course. Then what happens is, according to ancient science of medicine, our breathing is connected to the phases of the moon. That means from full moon day, for the first 3 days we are breathing in a certain fashion. The beginning of our breathing, and exactly at sunrise, the breathing changes. For every human being, we have no choice. We are all tied down, to the moon, phase of the moon. Everything depends on the phase of the moon. And there are these alternate cycles going on. But if somebody is sleeping at sunrise, and at sunrise the breathing has to change automatically. If you are sleeping, then the breathing may or may not change according to nature's timetable. Supposing the nature's time, it is the 7th day after the full moon, then this is the nature's timetable. It may or may not change if you are sleeping. It may change, it may not change. But if you are up before sunrise, it will definitely and automatically change what is planned by nature. But if you are present for this particular process, then you are breathing in special medicinal air created based on those energies and all that. Then it has a wonderful effect on what is called the Nadi system. Nadi system is something to this. You have heard the word chakra, no? Chakras and the Kundalini. Nadi system is based on that. You can imagine something like a subtler than the nervous system. In this ancient science of Ayurveda, they describe the basic 72,000 parts of this Nadi system. Actually, it is about 108,000, but the basic 72,000 part, it is given in such details in this, on which this chakras and Kundalini is based. The effect goes there, and of course, it has an effect on the nervous system also. So, it's nice to be present, but anyway, the effect is going to be in the house. As I said, a stranger comes into the house, you do it for 3 months, and then he will feel. So, certainly, anybody in the house is going to feel it.
So like our little boy, you can feel it, even though he sleeps.
Yeah. If he's awake, that's fine. If he sits, doesn't matter. Still in the house, he will have the effect. All the plants will have an effect in the garden. If there is a garden outside.
Has anyone ever measured the resonant frequencies of the mantras being uttered to discover what resonant frequency it is that's causing the catalyst for the energy transformation?
Now, when you talk of resonance frequencies, actually, we have to go a little deeper than this, how this works. As science understands today, I am talking, say, about a few years back. In the last 3 years, terrific changes have come about. The basic change started coming when physics took the quantum jump. To put it in a nutshell, if you use the methods of chemistry, that is what the Eastern European scientists who have worked greatly on these things, they have been telling me that it may not give you much insight, but if you use the methods of quantum physics, that is the only way to go into this. And what I suggested to them was, it is absolutely not necessary to know metaphysics to understand what this is. But if you know metaphysics, that will help you. But it is not necessary. That means it is not the, for example, you look to fire. I'll just say that. This is a book called Homa Therapy, Our Last Chance. It is all talks and different things told about pollution after Chernobyl with Eastern European scientists, after Chernobyl. And everything told is all ancient science. There is nothing modern in it. That's why they are telling what happens in pollution, how the rotation of the planet changes, what happens at North Pole, what happens to the insects, how insects change their dietary practices. Some insects become vegetarian, how the insects in pollution begin to mate in a hybrid fashion, like a honeybee mating with a spider and all that type of thing, how to set things right. This is all old science. This is all things in this book. So in that introduction, perhaps if you read one page of introduction, that might be interesting. Just this one page, and then 2 lines, first about what these European scientists said. You can read it here.
When some scientists from Eastern Europe started investigating the basic tool in Homa Therapy, i.e. Agnihotra, they found interesting results. However, a scientist has to supply a theory for the phenomenon he has described it. Commencing on this situation, one scientist said, quote, "The chemical reactions which take place when Agnihotra pyramid fire mentioned in Homa Therapy burns are less important. Important is the radiation. We know the chemical aspects of fire. In the end, we get H2O, CO2, and CO. Then there is visible light and infrared. This is the classical view today about fire. If you look into the more subtle structure of fire, you find that electrons jump from one atom to another like a flash of lightning. And this causes some emissions on a very subtle level which hardly fits into modern quantum theory."
That is the problem. It doesn't fit into modern quantum theory. Anyway, we need not insist that it has to fit into certain theory. So resonance, I think science knows, science has yet to learn much about resonance, because it is actually resonance can create matter. This is, to go a little backwards in time, we can say, as St. John's chapter 1, verse 1 states, "In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God, everything that was made by the Word, nothing that was made without it." This is the same theory. In old science, it is called Nada Brahma. And also, there are 2 words. One is called Shabda Brahma. Shabda means the word that was in the beginning. Exactly the same thing is told. Now, this resonance, so far as these practices are concerned, what are called, in a short I'll try to describe that. According to science of mantras, some are eternal words and some are just casual words. Some eternal words are placed in the atmosphere by certain ones, for certain purpose. A pure mind can do that. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God, such words. And then, exactly at sunrise, for example, you will find you utter those words, it has a resonance with those words. And actually it is resonance itself which works, always, changing all things around it. Now, how to measure that resonance? Then, what is resonance? And we have to consider all these other aspects from old science, so we have to go into all that, so to answer that question. But anyway, it does work. And you know how sound can have an effect. If something is uttered with totally pure mind, it has a big effect. Now, let us take the case of Abraham Lincoln. Some simple words were uttered once. Government by the people, of the people, for the people. You see, these words are so simple. There is nothing complicated about it. But what an impact they have. Just these simple words. Similarly, it was with Mahatma Gandhi. He just told the British in those days, quit India. Fine. Do you know that several 100,000 people courted prisons and went through all these sufferings? Just this one word, quit India. Because it was, this is the case with politicians. So what about yogis and saints? Sound, of course, has effect on matter. Those of you who have been in the army sometimes, or your friends, when they are marching, if you have to cross a bridge, they are asked to go out of formation. Because the bridge carrying the same weight, still the bridge has fallen. The bridge is damaged simply by this certain sound vibrations. So sound has an effect on matter. It all depends on how you tune in, for example. If there is an old science of music, it is a wonderful thing in India. The old practice now in the last 400-500 years it got lost, These special chord musicians, they were tested. For example, some big lamps were kept in the room and they are asked to play certain particular melodies, and automatically without a mastic it should catch fire. It should be like, you should be able to light the lamp. That means certain things is to be, what sound can do. If you go to the archives of the Faraday Institute, you will see how ultrasonic has an effect on certain particles. If ultrasonic has an effect on particles, then certainly certain type of music is bound to have an effect on something else. We can conclude. This is preliminary to your question of resonance. But this resonance itself, but this is all ready-made for all of us. So that resonance takes place and this healing works. Any other? So I want to thank you again for this opportunity. I know that the time has come now where places of shelter and refuge have to begin, and they will be done by divine will based on these methods of science.